I want to tell you guys a secret before we start. Charles had jalebi yesterday. And he's been struggling ever since, apparently. Isn't that right? How was the jalebi for you?
Namaste, aap kaise ho?
He's learning Hindi also.
I'm trying. Our jalebi was really good. I didn't think that was possible to put so many calories in a so little space.
Yeah. Okay. We wonder that quite often about how so many crypto tokens get into one blockchain. But let's get straight into it. Thank you all for staying on and having this chat witnessed by you is going to give us some energy at the end of the conference. Charles, I think it's pertinent to just get a sense from you about how a ledger is effectively looking at just this sub-industry of hardware wallets within the blockchain space, within the Web3 space, at the intersection of India. Why is it relevant to India? Where does someone like you look at India at?
So first of all, India is already a big market, like 1.5 billion inhabitants. It's a lot. Also, plenty of people are very tech savvy, and in our ecosystem, in our industry, our users are still a little bit geeky, we have to say it. So it resonates well with India. And also, I was really impressed. Like, I spent a few days here in India, and I wanted to understand the specificities of India when it comes to Web3, and I have a few key learnings. One of them is that the Web3 gaming is something really important here, so this is something quite interesting for me. Another learning is about the fact that it's mobile first when it comes to interacting with the web in general and in Web3 in particular. And when it comes to Web3, I think the UX is a little bit broken on mobile, like in the ecosystem in general. At Ledger also, I think we need to improve in this area. So I think it's an important learning for me. And what we are doing here in India at Ledger is really to make sure that we can provide the same level of services to Indian people that to the rest of the world. So first of all, we want to make sure that our devices can be ordered for Indian people. So
can they be?
So yes, they can. So either you can buy them directly on ledger.com, but you might have some challenges with the customs. So the preferred option is really to use official reseller. We have two. One of them is Amazon. So I guess you know Amazon India. We have an official store on Amazon, and also Etherbits, which is another official reseller. Also on Ledger Live, we have plenty of services when it comes to buying, selling, swapping, staking your crypto. So those services are really dependent on the jurisdiction. So we have to have specific services for specific countries, and this is the case. All the services are well covered here in India.
Okay, we're going to get into different aspects of your services and where you are, but I think it's important to just take a step back and for those uninitiated, get a sense of two things. One is, what's the journey of hardware wallets from the time of Satoshi Nakamoto's paper, and when did Ledger join that journey of hardware wallets?
So first of all, when you are in crypto, there is something really important to have in mind. Like self-custody is really important. Like owning Bitcoin on Revolut is not big in crypto. Like self-custody is really important in the crypto journey, because what makes crypto unique is the fact it's permissionless. You don't have to ask the permission to anyone to own your value, and you don't have to ask the permission to anyone to spend it. So this is possible with two things. One is having decentralized consensus. It allows censorship resistance, so you can make transaction. No one will prevent you to make this transaction. And the other part is self-custody. And self-custody means that you own your keys. You probably know the motto, not your keys, not your coin. And it's really true. So owning crypto really means self-custody. But with great power comes great responsibility, as someone would say. And Because blockchain are immutable, so if you are doing a mistake, if you are sending your transaction in a wrong address, if you are losing your keys, it's forever. There is no central entity that you can go to with a transaction. This is not something possible. So that's why like security is even more important in this ecosystem. And the best way to implement security remain hardware. So the Web3, the crypto, the blockchain do not invent everything from scratch. When it comes to security, we came from the hardware security world, which is already like 20 or 30 years old, which is plenty of legacy. So we can leverage this legacy to implement real security on blockchain, and that's why hardware wallet appeared. And the first hardware wallet that appeared back in the days was Trezor. I think that was in 2013, and Ledger devices have been created in 2014. So next year will be the 10 years anniversary for Ledger. So this is big news. And from 2014 to 2024, like a long journey has happened because creating hardware is something already difficult, but you need to create an operating system, you need to support plenty of different blockchains.
You sound tired already. There's a long way to go, you know that, right?
Yeah, and it's not finished. Like, there are new blockchain every day, new protocol every day. That's why also we have created some platforms for developers so that external developers can build on top of Ledger. They can build their own app running on our devices. They can implement their protocol support directly on Ledger Live. They can integrate their dApp directly in Ledger Live as well. And another possibility is also to integrate Ledger devices in your software wallet or in your dApps directly. This is something which is possible, and it's already done by more than 200 different software wallets.
All right, that sounds like a remarkable journey. You know, the question here is, okay, I'll give you the example of Facebook. Facebook has never really revealed which country is its #1 country in terms of users and activity. It doesn't reveal that. Okay, I myself have asked them that. Where is India for you in terms of the #1 countries that Ledger is occupied with?
In my heart, it's in the top, I can say. I really enjoyed this week here in India. In terms of sales, I don't really have the number. I can provide you the numbers. What I can say is it's 1/3 North America, 1/3 Europe, and 1/3 rest of the world. The rest of the world is quite big.
Guys, diplomacy, right now. It's happening.
The rest of the world is quite big. But what we can see is we see the cursor is shifting from US and Europe to Asia in general. This is happening these days. I think it's also because the uncertainty around regulation, especially in the US and Europe. In Asia, the regulation is also uncertain, but there is more frenzy, more people like keen on building for blockchain, and the adoption is already higher in Asia in general.
So let me ask you: you've come to India for the first time. You probably got stuck in traffic, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so if that happened, particularly in Bangalore, then you know that if you come to India as a Web3 or crypto or blockchain company, you're going to get stuck in this traffic called regulation, right? And if that's the case, then keeping that in mind, what's your vision for India? If everyone is moving towards Asia from North America and Europe, where does India fit into the Singapores, the Dubais, the Hong Kong for you?
It's a real geopolitical question. I mean, I think like India is already very important, like in terms of number of citizens first, but also in terms of economical growth. There is a lot of potential for India, and also because like India is really focused on tech, a lot of developers and so on. So it's a safe bet to bet on India for the future now.
How much will you bet? Like, let's say you have $100. How much of that would you give to India?
If I have $100, I can bet on my $100 on India.
All of it. Okay, good. He's obviously not going to do that, but good to know. All right. just take us through a little bit about the global challenges that you're noticing in the space for hardware wallets. There's just so many different things. I was in the Bahamas earlier, then I was in London, and then I was in Turkey and India and the US. And every jurisdiction is doing different things. How do you navigate that, and like how is that effectively like almost important? When you look at it zoomed out and you look at the world from, let's say, Mars, how do you deal with all of this?
That's true. Like you have like, and crypto is borderless. This is the first thing we can say. Crypto is borderless, but users that use crypto live in certain country with different regulation. So definitely, this is a little bit difficult to navigate in this with so many different regulations. But at the end, I'm not that concerned, because hardware wallet is simply a simple tool allowing people to be empowered, to be in control. So this is a little bit like having a locker safe at home. You can have a locker safe in the bank, then you will have to KYC yourself to the bank probably, and so on, and it will depend on the regulation. But having a locker safe at home won't require KYC. So I think regulation is important at the end, because we can see plenty of scams. We can see.
Yeah, so I wanted to get into that. How does Ledger actually comply with KYC regulations?
So as I mentioned, we don't have to comply to any KYC regulation because we are not a financial entity. What we are selling is really technology, so technology product, and we don't have to comply to the KYC regulation at the moment. And I don't think it will change in the future because of the reason I mentioned before.
Okay. The problem is that while there are enthusiasts from the crypto space here, they have a sense of what's really going on, right? But if mass adoption has to happen, education has to happen. And education has to happen in the context of crypto industry, big players like the Binances and other than that. But then also from the subsection within the crypto industry, the hardware wallet industry, and there are different ones out there. How much of that responsibility does Ledger really take on their own shoulders, and how are you educating people about all of this with wallets?
Yeah, I think education is really something important. I think it's a responsibility for everyone in the space, so Ledger, including Ledger, of course. But I think there are two things. First of all, there is education, but you also have UX. If you try to compare a little bit Web3 to the beginning of the internet, like end of the 90s, internet was really complex. You have to go in the settings of your computer, enter like the DNS, the TCP/IP. All of this needed to be configured by the user. People didn't understand what was the point for internet. Some people were saying that was a fade. That would be go away. That was for drug dealer. Like we had all of this for the internet revolution, and what made internet successful is two things. The first thing is education. So a lot of people spend a lot of time explaining what is internet, why it's interesting, why it's not plenty of scammers and drug dealer. There is this part, but also the UX. Like today, you don't have to know what is DNS. You don't have to know what is TCP/IP, what is TLS. It's just natural. You go on your mobile, you go on your desktop. It simply works. And
I want to stop you there. You know that the rules for internet governance have not still come up in India. Data Protection Act is about to come up. That's not an excuse. Like, yeah, it's become seamless, the experience of using internet in India and perhaps the rest of the world, but even the US is trying to frame global or national regulations for the spaces like the big four or big data or big tech. So that's the problem. There will be some pushback from regulations. Regulators take time to catch up with innovation. We know that. But what you're saying is that there was a problem with the internet. There were these teething issues. It was not seamless. Now it is seamless, and people have forgotten about that. But when the Data Protection Act in India comes, and that act will have guardrails for the internet and for protections for the people, the competition domination by the big companies in the space, the Googles, the Apples, the Microsofts, and that's going to happen in a similar thing, maybe happening in 10, 20 years in crypto, but it's going to happen. And then what?
I don't think it will be in 10 or 20 years. It will be faster than this because everything goes faster these days. First of all, the debate around regulation, sometimes we tend to be like the ecosystem versus regulators. I don't think it's a good debate to have. So let's face it, there are scams, there are phishing attacks in our ecosystem. There are like a rug pull mechanism, like this kind of thing. You know them very well. And this is a problem. We need to solve it. What the regulator wants to do is to protect citizens. This is what they try to do. And the question is like how they will protect citizens. And for that, it's not very simple because the problem is complex. The way to implement it is also complex. So what I think we must do as players in the ecosystem is to help regulators understanding the stake, to help them to understand the ecosystem and what kind of protection we can implement to protect users. At the same time, if some governments, some states are trying to regulate too much the ecosystem, they will miss the opportunity. Because the Web3 is a very big opportunity in terms of economical growth. And as I said, it's completely borderless. The world becomes more and more borderless. So a government that tries to ban or tries to put strong regulation that limits the Web3 adoption takes bad decision from an economic standpoint for his own country.
Okay, so this is interesting that you say this because we've presented this argument in forums to regulators in India. They reminded us of one thing. They asked us a simple question, and the question was, do you know what the population of your country is? And they said 1.4 billion, and I said, okay, what do you mean? And they said, well, if you're saying that people are going to leave the country and set up companies in Singapore and Dubai, they're going to go offshore, or the developers will go to companies that work in the US, we're not worried. We want to get our regulation right because when we do, there's still enough people in the country who are going to adopt that. And so we don't worry about, let's say, missing the bus or that economic incentive or trying to be first. They don't want to be first movers. Sometimes it's safer to be last movers or second movers in this case, which is why they came up with the regulations in the G20. So what's your answer to that?
I don't want to give advice to Indian government, especially. I'm saying this in general. I think missing the bus is an issue, is a missed opportunity in terms of economic growth.
Have you ever caught a bus in India? If you miss one bus, another comes, and usually you do miss the bus because there are anyway so many people.
I see your point, so I don't know. We'll see. But at the end, so we had the same debate for the internet in the 90s. Some government tried to regulate a lot, and they missed the bus. And it's a little bit the case for Europe against the US, by the way. I know better the Europe regulation. I can tell you this. So Europe missed the bus of the internet revolution because of the regulation, and then the regulation changed because we had to catch up at the end. And users want to use internet. And now all the GAFAM, all the social media are in the US, and in terms of sovereignty for Europe countries, it's a big issue. They understood that they missed the bus. So the same is about to happen to government, to country who take like too strong regulation that limit innovation.
Very interesting. It is quite fascinating how MiCA has come up in EU and is literally the first large-scale jurisdiction regulation. So what you're saying is absolutely correct in that context. Okay, I don't know if anyone out here has ever heard of a crypto company that has not faced some controversy. Kind of, they all do, right? And that's okay. Ledger 2 has faced some controversy, and we want to just dive into that a little bit because, of course, it's fun, right? Tell me about that. What happened? How did you battle that? And what did it have to do with this phrase, recovery mechanism?
So it's a good question. It's the first one I'm asked about Ledger Recover. So what we did is again, we want to improve the UX. The user experience is really for geeks today, and we want to make sure that my mother can use our devices. And today, this is not the case. For her, it's a little bit too complex, and when she onboard on a new device, there's 24 words, and she's like, what do I do with these 24 words? Where do I put them, and so on? It's something really complex, and when you think mass adoption, you need to think not like a geek, but like a regular people who don't really want to understand everything about the cryptography, about the private keys, about the 24 words. So, like, educating is part of it. Improving the UX is equally important. And when we thought about it, we thought, what are the main challenge? What are the main point of friction in the journey for self-custody, for hardware wallet self-custody? And the first one which came is really, what do I do with my 24 words? And what happens if I lose them? What happens if you lose them? You will lose your crypto. There are plenty of stories like every day on the internet where people lose their 24 words, they forget their PIN, and it's just sorry for your loss. Like, no one can do anything. These coins are stuck forever on the blockchain. And we wanted to provide users with an option for that, for this specific problem. So this is why we built this ledger recover feature. And the idea is very simple. At the beginning of your journey on a hardware wallet, you will generate your secret. And your 24 words, you have an option to subscribe to ledger recover service. And this service allows to create a decentralized backup that you can lock and unlock with your identity. So you will tie your identity to the backup of these 24 words. And during the process, we are implementing the good cryptography, allowing to do it very securely. We also wanted to avoid like anyone could get access to your 24 words. So that's why we split the key, the 24 words into 3 shards using an algorithm called Shamir secret sharing. And then we send all these 3 shards to 3 different partners in 3 different jurisdictions, and we encrypt them. They store them in a dedicated HSM, which is encrypted. So no one has an access to your keys, and if ever one day you lost your 24 words backup and you want to recover your account, you can. Your funds are not lost forever.
Okay. So that's a good explanation of what really happened. But you said this, not your keys, not your tokens. The whole ethos and foundation of crypto is that you don't have to put your money in a bank. You can put it in your own wallet, and therefore you have complete control over it. What you're doing is, as an intermediary, you're saying, well, if you lose the keys to your own wallet, then we'll provide you a mechanism to recover it. And yes, there is obviously a need for it, like you said, with your mother and perhaps mine. The question boils down to, like, how do you balance that narrative, right? A perception, because crypto geeks that you mentioned, they're like, no, this is not cool. We gotta have complete control over it. We can't give you some control. And the thing is that your foundation is based on those crypto geeks. Their interest is what fuels your empire.
So first of all, it's an option. We are giving you the freedom to use it or not use it. And by the way, it's a paid services, so it's not free. So if you don't want to use it, you don't use it. On my side, I'm really happy to manage my backup on my own. Managing keys, this is my job. I do that since 20 years. I really know how to do that, and I'm at ease with creating my backup and managing it. When it comes to my mother, she's not at ease. So the service is for her.
No, I understand that. There is a need for it. We accept that. The point is that when you have the FTXs and others who cannot be trusted, who have shown that they cannot be trusted, why should somebody trust a ledger? Somebody sitting in India, why would they trust a ledger to keep their keys then?
In terms of trust, so no one owns a full key. So it's really like shards. So if we go back to the locker analogy I did before, so you have a locker at home, it's yours, you have the key, and just in case you lose your key, we have created a mechanism that cuts your key into 3 shards, and you will pay 3 different banks in 3 different countries, 3 different jurisdictions that will lock the part of your keys in their own safe, their own physical safe. And the day you want to recover your account, you prove that you are yourself, and they will give you back the shards so that you can recover, you can open back your account and your physical safe at home. This is really, I think this is a good analogy to this. And in this method, you are still in self-custody. Like you are the only one in control. You are the only one able to reconstruct, recombine the shards.
So then let me ask you this. I sympathize with the situation. I lose my AirPods all the time. One goes somewhere and the other goes somewhere. So totally, I understand what you're talking about. Tell me this. When this controversy hit, and this is not about Ledger, this is more about the industry and how a controversy around trust or transparency can actually affect not just the subsection of the entire crypto community, which is in this case hardware wallets, but also your entity. How does it affect you? How do you come out of that? Trust is a problem. There will be more problems in the future potentially. So how do you deal with that?
So this question is really interesting because the debate was really about trust. And so in the ecosystem, we often say, like, don't trust, verify. And this really comes from the Bitcoin narrative, where all the protocol is written in Bitcoin Core. You can read the code. The fact that you have 21 million coin, the fact that the mining mechanism, like all of this, you don't have to trust anyone. Like it's written on the code. This is where the don't trust, verify comes from. But when you use crypto, you have to trust some entity. Like being completely trustless is simply impossible. Like if you would like to be completely trustless while interacting with crypto, you would have like to reinvent electronic, to reinvent computer science, to rebuild a compiler, to rebuild everything from scratch. And I would say like it's a live job, but it's even more than a live job. Like this is something really impossible. So you have to put some trust in some entity. And if in your model you think like Ledger could be the attacker, you're doomed. Like there was no way for you to be secure in this threat model. So as a user, when you use any wallet, you have to put some trust in this wallet. Then the question is, how can we deserve this trust? And this is really the question. And what we are trying to do is to proving every day that we can be trusted. We are trying to be as secure as we can. We are conducting security audit. We are as transparent as we can. We are sharing the biggest part of the code that we can. This is really what we are trying to do, being trusted. But at the end, the idea of using a wallet that would be completely trustless is a fake one. If you want to create like such kind of setup, you would need to create like multi-sig, where you have to trust a little bit Ledger, a little bit Trezor, a little bit another wallet, and make the bet that they won't collude against you. So.
That's a bit like fragmented trust, so like make 5 bank accounts and put your money in 5 different bank accounts. I understand that. I don't think I can go through the bureaucracy of that, particularly in India. Okay, there's something known as spot Bitcoin ETF applications right now at the SEC's door. This one company, very small company called BlackRock, has decided to kind of go ahead and shake things up. Fidelity is another very, very tiny company that has decided to do the same thing. There are actually more than 12 now applications, and I keep tracking them myself. Tell me a little bit about how you see on Jan 24th or 20th, I think. We're going to know around that time for sure what's happened with those applications. They could, Bloomberg analysts have said that all of them are likely to be passed and made products effectively at the same time. And what that could do for the space is just astronomical almost, everyone is saying. We've already seen crypto going from 30K to 45K because of that optimism. How do you look at that space? Is that optimism justified? Do you see it happening? How does it affect your industry?
So yes, I've heard about the startup like Fidelity and BlackRock, and definitely I think the market is already pricing it. As you mentioned, the price of Bitcoin is increasing fast. On one side, it puts a lot of light on crypto, on Bitcoin especially. So this side is really interesting for the market, and it will bring more fresh money to the ecosystem, allowing us to build more in the ecosystem. So this part is really positive. We will see a lot of money flowing into Bitcoin through this ETF. There is no doubt about that, except if they are not accepted, but the market is saying the opposite.
Do you think there's a chance they won't be accepted?
I don't bet, but it seems like everyone agrees that they will be accepted. So that will create a lot of fresh money, additional fresh money in the ecosystem, which is great for the ecosystem. But when you think about it, I'm not sure it's a good for the ecosystem on the long run, because what really makes crypto unique is the fact that you own your value. It's the permissionless aspect. It's the fact that you are in self-custody. So buying a Bitcoin ETF is like buying an Apple stock. Okay, you can speculate, but this is not what the crypto revolution is about. And another argument is, if ever these ETFs are so successful that they are concentrating a lot of money, it also creates some systemic risk for Bitcoin, for the decentralization of Bitcoin. So there's two aspects that must be kept in mind, and I think it's always better to invest directly in the value rather than the ETF. An ETF on gold makes sense, because like gold is not very convenient to store, not very convenient to transport. An ETF on Bitcoin doesn't make sense. Bitcoin has been created in order to transport value over time and over space very easily, and it's the case. You use your wallet and you can send like a small amount of Bitcoin to anyone, anywhere in the world in a few minutes.
See, the problem with what you're saying is that it's a conflict of interest. You're basically saying don't put money with the Black Rocks and blah, blah, blahs. Put in my wallet. and so you're saying, it doesn't work as a monetary strategy.
My wallet or any wallet. My point is really self-custody.
Okay. We're going to ask this question. Any guest who's very welcome in India, welcome by the way. We always ask this question, what do you like about India? But we're not going to ask that this time. We're going to say, what do you not like? And what you have to be careful of is that there is a history of mass violence protests in India. So just be watching what these guys do after.
It's a difficult one. So traffic jams are something. Also, like the way people are driving is also disturbing for me. But apart from that, frankly, my experience so far is really, really good. People are really friendly. I had very interesting discussion, and the ecosystem, the Web3 ecosystem in India is really vibrant. I loved it.
Okay. Well, we love this conversation. We do appreciate, particularly me as a journalist, I appreciate the fact that you've taken all these questions in the right spirit. I really appreciate that always. And yeah, I'm on the same page with you when it comes to Bangalore traffic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.